once again, Marvel's back, baby, with Eternals. And man, I guess when you just look at it at face, I'm trying to decide how to go about this. I think looking at it at face, right? You start with the most recent winner of the Best Director award at the
Yes.
Oscars, in Chloe Zhao. You get a stacked cast, absolutely stacked cast. Gemma Chan, who, what was the movie with that she was in earlier this year?
Let Them All Talk, the end of 2020. Soderbergh.
Yes, thank you. Oh, that was 2020. Wow.
December. Yeah.
Richard Madden, Bodyguard, Game of Thrones, an actor that
maybe Bond.
Yeah, we've tapped to potentially be Bond soon. Kumail, ripped Kumail.
Yes.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Oh, yeah.
Barry Keoghan, the young king.
Yes. Angelina Jolie doing another
Kit
franchise.
Harington, Selma Hayek. I mean, you get
Don Lee, big Korean star.
Right. Yeah, you get some big star power here. So, on the surface, it feels like there's a lot of good ingredients here. This recipe is going to be delicious. And then we finally got to take a bite. And Dave, what'd you think?
I didn't like Eternals too much. It's not like terrible, but it's clearly the worst of the 3 Marvel films that came out this year. And there's been a lot of talk about this, right? The worst reviewed Marvel movie on Rotten Tomatoes, the worst cinema score of an MCU film, right? And I have some thoughts about that too. But ultimately, I think it's just a ambition versus execution issue is what failed Eternals, where everything they tried to achieve, a lot of it kind of outside the traditional MCU mold. Unfortunately, not enough of it actually works well enough to make the movie good. And it's just kind of a big swing, but it's more or less a whiff. So not that I wasn't entertained throughout large parts of it, but I just think it doesn't really come together in the way it needed to.
Yeah. It felt like they were just doing too much to me in this movie. It's an origin story, obviously telling the story of the Eternals. It starts with a scroll, which I never see as like a very good sign for a movie if you have to do that much downloading before you start the downloading in an origin film. But also one of the best origin films or first films of all time, Star Wars. A New Hope did that. So, I mean, it can be done well. It's very like high concept. We're not really dealing with superheroes as much as we are gods, and Greek gods with even higher Greek gods above them. And the idea that like planets birth these celestials is a bit out there. So there's some hard stuff to sell. And also, it's a love story. It's stopping the world from apocalypse story. It's a Superman story. It's a Greek god story. There's a lot of stuff going on. It touches on a lot of history, and some very delicate times in history. I think we'll touch on that a little bit more in a second. And so then you think about all these different actors and what they're all good at, and it's like, how do you really get a movie with Kumail and Richard Madden, who are on 2 very different wavelengths in this movie, and get it all to work? And it just feels very, very difficult. And I actually think my biggest critique of this movie is just the plot device of the deviants, right? So it's basically set up that the Eternals are created by the Celestials to stop the deviants from killing beings on different planets, and the Eternals are sent to protect them. The deviant is the main villain of the movie up until about the last 40 minutes, and then it's just like he shows up one more time, and it's like, okay, deviants are done now. Don't have to worry about them anymore. Just really get like a cool Angelina scene, and then they're gone. And I just was like, oh, this is really tough, because this feels kind of like the whole idea for the whole movie is that a lot of it just feels like it was baked almost to perfection, and then just big pile of crap on the ground. So
right.
I don't know. Really hated the deviant stuff. Also, didn't think they looked that cool. Just my own thing, but
no, I mean,
do they ever?
that's the thing about the deviants. They're just kind of CGI cannon fathered the way other CGI character things are CGI cannon fodder. There's nothing
Mhm.
special or new about them, right? And a lot of people who are defending the film are remarking on like how, the movie tries to be different and you just don't like things that are different. Oh, all MCU movies are the same, but yet when you get something different, you don't actually like it. But I kind of call BS on this because you wanted to do something different. What if this movie didn't have deviance at all? You
Right.
know? Remember when Barry Keoghan, Druid, one of the actual best
Mhm.
characters in the film? Remember when he starts getting really philosophical for just a second, but then he can't because the movie has to keep going with the plot?
Yep.
There was a far more interesting story somewhere in here if we had maybe even removed the deviance entirely, you know?
Mhm.
And that's kind of my problem is you have this team of 10 Eternals plus Kit Harington's character. And then you have this never-ending plot. It is constant plot. There's almost no scene that isn't plot.
Mhm.
You can't service these characters. You can't foster these relationships in that amount of time. It just the movie does not give space for it to happen. And again, it's a big shame because what you do get of these characters a lot of times is just kind of archetypes, but like there was something there. They actually were colored in a little bit, and like, oh, I would like to learn more about this person, but there's
Mhm.
just no time. And that like conflict, as you said, the conflict of the story really just drops. It's, oh, we don't have
Yeah.
to fight the deviants anymore. We have to uh, control each other.
Stop.
You know,
Yeah, and stop Superman.
right. But didn't were you surprised when the deviant starts as he starts killing people? Right, Salma Hayek is we learn how she gets killed, and
Mhm.
Gilgamesh, Don Lee's character, gets killed. The deviants became self-aware, as our celestial daddy told us, right? And yet, as they get self-aware and more powerful, right? I think it's Bill Skarsgård's playing it with mocap, right? He starts talking to this main deviant, right?
Mhm.
Like, what the fuck happened? You would have thought he would have actually joined our good Eternals and fought Icarus at the end, based off what he had said an hour ago, where he's like, "We just want to survive. You kept trying to hunt us all down, right? Why the fuck are you teaming up with Icarus then?" Didn't make any
Yeah.
sense to me. I thought like they just didn't figure out what they wanted to do with it. They just kind of threw it away, having him die in the cave. Like it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even him versus the Eternals, it's him versus Thena. It's basically like, oh, Thena gets a cool scene before, as her redemption, because she has what was it called? Like the mad weight or something like
Mad
that. Oh, I
something.
can't
Yeah,
remember.
basically she has too much experience as an Eternal on these planets that her memories are kind of frying her brain, basically. Mad
Yeah.
something. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, she's gone crazy and wants to hurt other Eternals and um
Is
you
can't
know,
control
I
herself, basically.
yeah. And I actually really liked some of the stuff that happened around that. Her and Don Lee together, I thought was very like cute, nice like
Could have used a lot
friendship.
more of it, though.
Yes, absolutely. I could have used a lot more of Druig with Makari. I thought honestly, when you look at the relationship and that leads the movie, there's no chemistry between Richard Madden and Gemma Chan. You get about 20 to 30 minutes of Barry Keoghan and Lauren Ridloff
Mm,
together at the end of the movie, and you're like, "Ooh,
crackling.
yeah, something's going on here." Um, but to bring it back, yeah, I really feel like they basically just were like, we don't really know how to wrap this up. We're just gonna have him go in this cave, fuck with Thena, and have her redemption here. Cool. All right, but yeah, it didn't make any sense. It also, like you said, the stuff with Druig, I thought that's where the movie was going for a second, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be really fascinating, especially when you see that Brian Tyree Henry probably would have been on his side after his response to sitting in the ruins of Hiroshima.
Right.
Which let's just talk about that real quick.
Hmm,
What the fuck, man? Like, I mean, I don't think it's as egregious as some people have been frying it, but like,
same.
it's a really tough choice, and especially coming from an Asian director or
Mm,
an director
good point.
of Asian descent. It almost feels just like did she think this all the way? Was she kind of like told she needed to do this by the Marvel machine? It just felt unnecessary. I feel like you could have had him sitting anywhere and having a conversation about how his technology has ruined countless lives, killed countless people. But to have him actually in the ashes of Hiroshima is just really, really tough. What was your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I'm not like super offended by it, but it's heavy-handed at the very
Yeah,
least. You know, in general, a lot of things are heavy-handed. You know,
true, true.
they're like, oh well, we don't have a whole lot of time to convey this, so we'll just do a very quick montage with Brian
Mhm,
Tyree Henry and get it over with. You know, that's kind of how it came across to me, honestly. And in the process, you do something that might not be quite as tasteful as you want, even if it's
mhm.
a fictional film.
Yeah. So then, just kind of like moving to some of the other problems with the movie, and then we should get to some stuff that we like. I wanted to
Hmm.
go back to the stuff with Richard Madden and Gemma Chan, right? So Gemma Chan plays Cersei, who is the main character of this, gets chosen to lead the Eternals after Selma Hayek's Ajax is killed by a deviant, and Icarus is the who people expected to be the next leader. He's the Superman character. He doesn't wear a
Yes,
cape. They actually, pointed this out in the movie that he is Superman, which
yeah.
is kind of crazy.
They
Like I
name
was just
dropped
like, okay,
Batman too.
yeah. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Um, and obviously, if you haven't seen the movie, spoilers. But Richard Madden ends up wanting the uh, implosion of the Earth to have the celestial
Yeah,
born to happen, so that they can move on. He doesn't have
their
to carry the
original
weight of this
purpose he's
lie.
committed to.
Exactly. And while the rest of the group is not. And so uh, their love is supposed to be a driving force in this. You're supposed to really care about this
Mm.
relationship. I gotta say, man, I did not feel it at all. And I think it's because both of them present as like fairly flat for a lot of the movie. Um, Obviously, they had gone through a breakup prior to the events of this, and Gemma Chan is pursuing Kit Harrington, who's what's his character's name?
Uh,
Dane Whitman,
yeah, the
who
Black
I
Knight
believe
to
is like,
come.
yeah, the Black Knight, exactly. Um, so there's a lot going into it. Did you feel like they had interesting or at least like convincing chemistry?
Yeah, I mean, I can get over that. I think partially because they're both really nice to look at as
They are.
actors, you know. But again, there's no fucking time. Like they don't have time to have any chemistry because they don't get to fucking talk to each other. It's just plot, 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 plot. You know,
Hmm.
and it's just annoying, man. I mean, fuck, we got our first Marvel sex scene.
Yeah.
In a sense, a
Oh
big
yeah.
deal because Marvel's obviously been very sexless, despite having quote sexy people in it.
And
Been
as
a
you
big thing.
said, they picked two really good people to have it with.
Yeah,
So
I mean, yeah, it's chest up. I don't have a problem with it being very, very PG. It's a Marvel movie. It's this kid seeing this, no problem. But like, they don't they don't actually seem to really pay it off. It's a little it's still a little underwhelming. Um, Honestly, Brian Tyree Henry's relationship with like an unnamed character, his unnamed husband,
mhm.
which obviously has infuriated some smooth brained folk that have a problem with this. I thought that relationship was actually conveyed in a pretty good way, given how
Yeah,
quickly it was done. But yeah, I mean, Icarus and Cersei. I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, like I was like barely paying attention to because they were split, but also because I had to focus on the mission at hand, the whole
hmm,
time.
right.
So again, like if, a different screenplay, different twist on this with all these parts. I just feel like we could have got somewhere better.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reason I bring up that chemistry is because obviously at the end, as they're trying to stop the Celestial's birth, um, Cersei is able to use the energy or the force or the powers of the other Celestials to basically halt this thing from happening.
Yep.
And Richard
With the like
Madden's
mind link thing,
Icarus,
Unimind.
right? And Icarus gets to the point where he can stop her, and because of his love for her, is unable to, or not able to use his powers at that moment. And in fact, she does save the world. Surprise, surprise, for a Marvel movie. Um, just in that moment, it's like it's supposed to really hit you that like love is really overcoming this like belief system that it's saving the world in some senses is supposed to be I think the overall message. And I'm just like, really? I was just like, yo, dude, you're gonna go all hot, what was it, Outlander or Highlander, whoever from the boys, and just like cut this girl up right now. Like in any
Mhm.
other scenario, you would have, because I just didn't buy it. But I thought that ending was kind of lame,
Right.
honestly.
And part of the ending, you have coming on Johnny's character, Kingo, decide, I kind of agree with Icarus. I'm not going to fight you guys because I like you, but I kind of think our mission makes sense. You know what? Honestly, I'm glad someone else had that point of view. The problem is he kind of just drops it and dips. Like you could have sown the seeds about these two choices a little earlier, you know,
Mhm.
but they don't. So it's
Yeah,
frustrating.
I have a question. Was like Kingo's powers able to be used in the One Mind? Like, because it seems like wasn't Sprite's powers used even if she was against them
Yes,
stopping the
Sprite's
mission?
powers were used, and I was kind of a little confused about how that worked too.
Yeah.
In general, I kind of had this thought early on, and this is not a problem Marvel or really any superhero movie usually has. Some of the Eternals' powers were just kind of undefined, like the way we start watching the movie. Like some of them, make sense, right? Like Icarus. Okay, he's Superman, or he's Cyclops and he flies. I got it.
Mhm.
Makari, she's the Flash. Got it. Druig, he controls people's minds. Cool. But like Cersei,
Yeah.
Kingo, Fastos, Gilgamesh. I'm like, oh, so Gilgamesh, he's just strong. He makes like a fist thing, and Thena, her power is she makes weapons. Like,
Weapons and is a good
and
fighter.
and Fastos in particular is like he's smart with technology in a magical sense. Like I wasn't really sure what they did. And Kingo just shoots
Yeah.
things out of his hands. That's what it is. Like I don't care. It's just weird that it was kind of vague. This is not,
Yeah.
and it's especially weird that it's vague when there's 10 characters that have this question, or 10 that might have the question.
Including your lead, who, I mean, I get that she's supposed to be discovering that her powers are much stronger than she even realized. Obviously, she takes a deviant, or I shouldn't say obviously, she takes a deviant underwater and makes him into a tree. And everybody's like, I didn't know you could make people into a tree. And that was like a huge thing, which I was like, why is this such a big deal? Like, she just made a deviant into a tree. Like, I don't know. I think there's like worse ways to kill somebody. Maybe better powers. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I agree. It's like Kingo can shoot power from his hands, and Brian Tyree Henry is just really smart. Got a 1600 on his SATs. Like, all right, I don't know, very strange. Um, but yeah, I felt like a lot of that was just like kind of yada yada. Um, and then we have Ajax. We haven't even talked about Salma Hayek in this.
Mm,
First of all, love
great
Salma
presence.
Hayek.
Yeah.
Oh, an OG favorite of a young Pat Sheehan. Just want to say. So
Mm.
Selma Hayek always on the top of my list. I
Angelina
thought
for
she was
me
great.
as well.
Oh well, there we go. Um, I thought she was a great presence. I thought I could have used a little bit more of her in the movie.
Mm,
Honestly, I thought when she was kind of leading the group, obviously her knowledge of what was actually going on, I would have liked to have seen her like have these conversations with Richard Madden's Icarus and like
yeah.
have them discuss like their
Or
feelings
even
around these
Erisham or
things.
something, just so we know as the audience.
Exactly. And I felt like her death was just kind of like looked over. She looked like the Wicked Witch of the West. I don't know if that was intentional, but I was like, man, you're just really gonna turn her green? Like, what the hell? I don't know. I just feel like she didn't get enough time
Mm,
for me. But like you said, we had a lot to get to, so
yeah.
gotta cut something.
I mean, I was feeling that way, when she dies. At least you got that flashback when you find out how she actually died. I do like the heel turn. I like the twist with Icarus, at
Hmm.
least to like kind of spice it up. Again,
Hmm.
problems still continue, but yeah, I mean, I guess on the other hand, you have the world building aspect to this, right? How the Eternals watch over everyone for 7,000 years. So in the process, we get to see like Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and we see them in uh yeah, the the
next
Mayans,
to
right?
yeah.
Yeah, or the Aztecs, or however that was being killed by the Spanish, whatever was going on. And you know, that's cool to think about, right? I also liked how they like wove it in, right? It's like, oh, the Greeks have their names for their gods literally because Athena is there, right? And the Epic of
Mhm,
Gilgamesh is because Sprite literally told a story named after her buddy Gilgamesh. I loved all that
mhm.
shit. That's awesome. Icarus flying too close
I
to the
agree.
sun, you know?
He
I love
literally
all
flew
that.
into the sun. He literally flew into the
Yeah.
sun at the end. Come on.
Yeah. I was like, I
Come
already
on.
got it. I already got it. You didn't have to actually have kill himself that way though.
Exactly. Why do you have to kill himself? Just fly off.
I
Save him
thought
for
he was
later if you
flying
want.
off and we'd see him again in Guardians 3 or
Yeah.
some shit, you know?
He probably just didn't want to keep doing it or something. I don't know. Why not?
It's fine.
Yeah, but I,
I don't
I
have a big
agree.
problem with that, but
I think most of the history was really cool except for the Hiroshima thing. But like I thought it was cool to see them like exploring prehistoric time and like
mm,
going through history as they uncover this stuff. I
right.
loved that.
The dinosaurs, the asteroid actually was just a bunch of deviants raining from the sky to kill them.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. Um what other parts of the movie did work for you? What else did you like?
Yeah, so I mean, when you have Chloe Zhao directing this film, as you mentioned, just one Best Director, someone famed for her use of natural light and also famed for her use of non-professional actors for the most part. But
Mhm.
you know, that was a really, I think, ballsy, but kind of sends a message as a form of director choice because Marvel doesn't have hasn't had a good track record with auteurs in terms of letting them go until, of course, that finally changed. Right, Ryan Coogler with Black Panther, Taika with Thor 3, James Gunn with the Guardians films. It's kind of let us forget about Edgar Wright's problems leading him to walk away from the first Ant-Man movie, right?
Mm.
But it didn't feel like much of a Chloe movie to me, apart from okay, I can tell we shot outside. They were actually on a beach. There is some natural light going on. That's cool. And you get all those ridiculous Kevin Feige quotes about how Chloe shot it outside, like he had never fucking seen outside of a green screen set before. It's like it's all fine, but I just I feel like a different screenplay could have played into her strengths. And Chloe had a part in the screenplay. She's not the only screenwriter, only story credit, but she's part of it. But it just didn't seem like something that could kind of lend itself to her. Because again, it's like all this plot, and in
Mhm.
a sense, you kind of wish this was a little more script doctored just to
Yeah.
make it a little more tight. Because when it's this ambitious, you have 11 new characters. We haven't even talked about Kit Harington because there's not a whole lot to say. But if all
Mhm.
these characters, all this backstory with the Celestials and stuff, it could make it work. But like it and like I don't want to call it ambitious, but it's just you're just trying to do a lot in one film, and I just don't think this form of storytelling was successful because you kind of emphasize the plot over the character, and I wish these characters were a little stronger developed. The ones that live, I don't feel great about still. Like even the stuff with Sprite. Maybe we could have got a little bit more of Sprite's desire to be a real functioning member of society before the last 20 minutes of the movie. Like again, you could have sprinkled that in the same way you could have sprinkled in more of Druid's philosophical questions, or
Mhm.
just
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
just so
with
much left
with
undone to me.
yeah, with Sprite, the only other scene you really get is at the very beginning in that bar when she's flirting with that guy and he touches her and it goes like through her hand and she just like
Yeah.
runs out. Um, but yeah, I agree. And I mentioned before, like the way Richard Madden played this movie and the way Kumail played this movie were so drastically different. And I do feel like in the range of like uh charmingness or whatever they're just kind of at giving different performances but still both very charming. I think obviously Madden a bit more reserved, his character is holding his cards a little tighter to his chest. I found Kumail to be great in the scenes he got. It just felt like different movies at times, and it felt like tonally jumping from Richard Madden and Gemma Chan to Kumail and Brian Tyree Henry, who were both just like chewing every single scene down to the pulp, every single as much as they could. It was like, okay, we're gonna and someone like Don Lee is another great example who I thought he just like was enjoying himself the whole time. Every scene he got, he was just crushing it, really, really making the most of it. And it just felt like making all of it work was just really tough. Um, going to a point that you said with Chloe Zhao, I thought some of the like scenic landscape views were really cool. I really liked how the movie opens, like prehistoric times, like that landscape of Mesopotamia. Um, but the like way that it would transition from like really dark scenes to really bright sunsets like in my face, I literally like a bunch of times like had to like cover my eyes and like let them like readjust just because it was like so stark.
And
Not necessarily a knock, but it was just some. And you know what it is that Dolby Cinema, bro. Like
yeah,
that
the
the
real color
dark and the
black.
lights are just, yeah, so much better. The sound amazing. But yeah, I thought that kind of was like uh jarring at times. I think intentionally to be like, all right, like boom, you're here now. Um, but it felt like the pieces were all there, but like we said, the recipe just didn't work for some reason. Um, I don't know. We're obviously going to be getting another one.
Don't know
Uh,
about that, to be honest. They didn't exactly say another more Eternals is coming. You had that producer comment that's not necessarily something they need to do. So I don't
bro,
know if Eternals
bro,
2. It's certainly nowhere close because we know the next like 2 years of movies.
we just in the end credit scene we get Harry Styles as
We
Arrow slash Star Fox
correct.
with Barry Keoghan, with who else is there? Lauren Ridloff's Makari, and who was even the other one? I don't
Was
remember.
Fastest with them?
Was it Thena? I think it was Thena because
Yeah.
Fastos and Cersei and Kingo are the ones that get grabbed, something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And so there's no way they're gonna introduce Harry Styles and leave this cliffhanger and not bring him
Oh,
back. I would
it's
say,
Thena, Druig, and Makari on the ship.
gotcha, gotcha. Which, you know what? Honestly, cool. Like I would follow those three more and just see what happens between Druig and Makari. Throw
Mhm.
Harry Styles in there being charming.
Yeah.
He's obviously a tie to Thanos, which is, kind of like, where's this going? Um, but I'm intrigued by it. But we're getting a second one. I highly doubt we'll get Zhao back for that. Um,
Right.
I guess, and it's going to be in space. It seems like, so. Why would you? It's not her
Well,
strength.
that's the thing. Are we sure we get a second Eternals, or do we just see that crew on the ship show up in somebody
Ah,
else's movie down the line?
good point. Good point.
Whether it's Guardians 3 or even something further out.
That's a really
TBD.
good point.
There's some unsourced talk of Harry having a large like option deal, the way Marvel famously has done for many actors. Again, doesn't necessarily mean they're making like Eternals 2 or some spin-off thing. So I think that they're probably thinking a lot about the reception to this film. Again, it did get a B cinema score. It's not just critics that weren't super enthused with this movie, after all. And you'll probably see that in stark box office drops in the weekends to follow. So they'll probably do some soul searching, some thinking. Maybe the Marvels. I don't know if any of the movies we really know about are the ones, and maybe it's further down the line. So obviously we'll see people again, but maybe we don't see them all again. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thoughts
The
on the? Go ahead.
Yeah, you got in there.
Oh, thoughts of the on the second end credit
Yeah.
scene. We get Kit Harrington removing a sword. Obviously, we already mentioned his character is going through the Black Knight, and then we just hear him. But man, it got me jazzed. Mahershala as Blade saying, I don't even know what that was.
Yeah, are you
Or
ready
whatever
or
it was.
something? Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Hell
How'd
yeah.
you feel about it?
Oh, that's great. I honestly, I wasn't sure what it was. I was like, is that Doctor Strange? Who is that? And I was like, obviously it's familiar. It's like I love Mahershala, but
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking it could be Mahershala Ali because we've gotten, obviously nothing from Blade thus far. He was cast 2 years ago. So that's cool. Obviously, we know where the Black Knight will be popping up. So
Hmm.
that's one down, you know.
Yep.
But super jazzed for that. Also, I just wanted to know one thing I did love. I thought was a complete success about Eternals would be Harish Patel as Karun, Kingo's
Oh
valet.
yeah.
Absolutely hilarious every single time. The stuff with the cameras, so good. Everything about him was so good.
Yeah, I mean, they really have that character down. Whether it's Peter Parker's friend in all the
Yes.
Spider-Man movies, or just like that side character who just can bring the laughs. And yeah, that was amazing in this. And I thought also brought like a nice like human element, which is um, you know, just it's like a welcome part to a story about gods, basically, to have like a human being like, oh well, thanks for all you did. Like, guess I'll go die now. It's like, damn, fucking rough. But yeah, shout out to Patel. Any last thoughts before we wrap this up? I think we went like 40 minutes on Eternals.
Yeah, that's a lot for a movie. Didn't super like too much.
Yeah,
Honestly, though,
you know,
if it was a TV show, maybe it could have been executed on better just because you have more time. Normally, I don't say that about films, but this large scope, you want to do it all at once. Maybe TV was the way to go. I don't know.
I know. Yeah, I've heard that brought up on a couple of things I've listened to about it, and it makes a lot of sense. You have 10 characters, 10 episode season, like just feels too
We had
perfect.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier really like scrape for 6 hours, but this, we had to cram it in the two and
Gotta
a
pack it
half.
in. Pack it in.